While women are used to receiving free ego massages and special VIP treatments by men as they stand on their pedestals, crying for attention and validation, and willing to hand out crumbs, smart men are walking by without noticing them at all. The truth is that the pursuit of women has always been optional for men. For women, it has been necessary, and they think men need them. If they would stop projecting what they want and start seeing clearly, their lives would turn out better. Women seem to have this idea that they can plan their future relationships and marriages in advance on who they're going to marry. What will he look like? What kind of job will he have? What kind of car will he drive? Will he own a house or a rental? And so far, no woman has ever come even close to having the perfect guy who checks the endless list that a woman has been adding to since puberty. Women anticipate the same special treatment they received in the past because they are unaware of the truth. They feel entitled to everything even now because they are so accustomed to receiving everything from males. And for that reason, males no longer approach women. They avoid women at work. They avoid them at the gym. And they avoid them even on social media. It's because of the way things are now. Why should males approach women when the situation is different now? When there is no justification for males to treat women differently. Woke feminist women constantly preach about equality and demand to be treated differently. Women nearly want to take a man's role in society because they are uncomfortable with males being the providers, but they yet yearn for the comforts of the past. Men are afraid they're going to get fired. Men are becoming noticeably less willing to approach their female peers in the workplace. According to a report, 20% of men avoid speaking to and interacting with female coworkers privately. A third or more of men state they would be terrified to be alone with a woman in the study's primary research, which questioned men how they would feel if they were in the office alone with a woman. Why? The main reason is that they just don't want to be in a situation where they're framed for any allegations against them by the women. They don't want to lose their jobs over some women. The reality is that men would rather work more freely with other men. This only demonstrates how increasingly wary males have become of women throughout time, especially in the last 10 years, and how much they would prefer to communicate and work with other guys. In cubicles, meetings, and boardrooms, they prefer to work with other males rather than women because they can share information, talk about ideas, and organize their schedules together. This is due to their fear of losing the career they have worked so hard to build over a long period of time. They may lose everything with just one unfounded accusation. In a society that primarily takes into account and believes what women say, one false charge could end up being the villain. So don't blame men. Men can see what has happened over the years, especially with the advent of the Me Too movement. They don't want to bear responsibility for something they did not commit. They don't want to lose their jobs, status, and position in society. Men are tired of being duped, rejected, manipulated, used, cheated on, and ignored. They've dealt with all of this over the past few decades, and they don't want to. Why are males approaching women differently now than they used to? There was no direct means to contact women, no matter how far away they were from you, before social media, cell phones, and the internet. Since there was no other way to interact with women back then, men used to physically approach them and show that they were interested in them. Men and women can communicate with one another in the modern world at any time and from any location. Back then, there was a lot of effort involved. Everything needed to be planned in advance. It was easier and maybe a bit more exciting as well. Since you didn't have the option of checking her up on social media, you probably had a mental image of the person you saw and fell in love with. And because of this, males felt forced to approach the woman face to face and ask for a date. Since that was the way things were back then, most people dated inside their own groups. The distances were great and vast, and they frequently caused issues. As opposed to now, when you can communicate with people anywhere in the globe and interact with them in real time online. As a result, neither men nor women had access to such comforts or even the pleasure of being able to socialize with just about anyone. There were procedures to follow. The females had to get consent. Before they could meet, the males had to get approval from the girl's parents. Back then, there wasn't much engagement. Men had no more than 2 chances to meet and get to know women before being married. Guys had no choice but to approach women since they had no other option. And because of the multiple distractions we currently encounter, I think the level of chemistry, connection, and mutual understanding was far higher than it is now. A person looking for someone on social media could like one individual, but they might also like 5 or 10 others. They would engage in sporadic online interactions, and even while they were dating, they would be glued to their phones, conversing on a group chat or attempting to obtain the ideal picture for Instagram. We were entirely cut off from one another and our reality, despite the fact that we are far more linked than we were in the past. It's absurd. Why then do guys not approach women anymore? Here is the issue. Women anticipate that men will approach them in the same manner as in the past. But things were different in the past. Both men and women felt more at ease with their gender and skin. Men are aware of their obligation to support women, and women are aware of their obligation to care for men by giving birth to children and nurturing their families. Therefore, it was usual at that time for men to approach women and for women to anticipate that males would do so. The days of approaching ladies were over. But in fact, that's no longer the case. Men nowadays have just opted not to engage in any actions that might be seen as disrespectful or invalidating by women. Males have noticed that women's treatment of males has recently deteriorated. They have made the decision to put their name, integrity, and respect before the disdain and denigration that women have shown them. Seriously. I should avoid contacting ladies because, I swear, I've heard tales of women reporting people to the police for approaching them. Obviously, there was nothing wrong with the males. They just didn't suit their ideal profile in the areas of appearance and wealth. So, why would I or anyone put myself through something like this? It doesn't make sense. Also, I think a very high percentage of women are just not even worth approaching anymore. I think that's what they want, to be publicly valued by men, so they can show off in their circles, humiliate the guy, and feel validated, which isn't happening for her because no more guys are approaching them. Men are now starting to wake up and understand all of this. They don't have time to waste worrying about women who make interacting with them pointless. Women don't appear to be aware of how essentially rigged the game is against guys. They desire what they desire. Men will also no longer engage in accepting the unsupportive behaviors of women. They're done being used for nothing. This is happening in 2023, and I think it will keep happening for the next 10 years. After that, men will stop approaching women since it will become expected, and women will have to work very hard to grab a man's attention in order to get some of the free validation they formerly did. No matter how independent, wise, or liberated women grow, validation will always be their first priority. For all they do, they will constantly need the approval of men and other women. What matters most is this. More and more guys are realizing that it's best to avoid approaching a lady unless they are very convinced that they will receive a favorable answer. Men have also come to understand that women have historically played men for amusement or to boost their own egos by rejecting them, while men have learned that they have always been the ones seeking women. Men are now able to see past this. They are unwilling to take chances because they are aware of the true character of women. In order for men to approach women, women will need to boost their game and appear accessible. They will thus need to be sincere, truthful, and upbeat, as well as cheerful, and possess a certain amount of empathy. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. And let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.